Morning, everybody, and welcome to ESO Daily. I am your host, Mystic Raven. All right. So, today's video, I want to go over the three types of variables that I kind of use going into build configurations. And these are typically associated with scientific math. But what we see in economics, like, okay, so I used to do study economics and financing, and I worked in that related field at one time. So we see diminishing returns, right? So that's what you see. You see diminishing returns in what? Percentage math. Okay, pretty simple. You know, it's just there. The diminishing returns exist in an MMO. Why? Because it deals with percentages. So the law of marginal diminishing returns applies. Okay. So we've got that out of the way. So we see that, right? There's a diminishing value in percentage math. Morning, Lewis. But today I kind of want to go over the three different types of variables associated with scientific math, and that's independent, dependent, and controlled variables. And why is this important in Elder Scrolls? Well, it's important when you're trying to configure your build. It's very important, actually, because a lot of people, come to one conclusion based on what? Parameters, right? They say, oh, well, this is BIS. Well, they didn't take into consideration the three different types of variables that apply. And I'll be going over this and kind of giving you guys a general idea how this breaks down. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is independent variables. Okay, now you can Google this, you can look it up. An independent variable is fixed. Okay, in economics and financing, we consider an independent variable a fixed variable, meaning it stands by itself. The number cannot be changed, influenced, adjusted, or anything. It cannot. It stands alone by itself, but it's a determining factor in any other variable that is going to try to influence the primary number. So that's fixed, and that's what we have to take a look at. And some of the fixed variables that we see in the game is as follows. Sets, right? Our sets are fixed. We can't adjust any of the sets bonuses, right? We can't adjust the 2 bonus, we can't adjust the 3 bonus, we can't adjust the 4, and we cannot adjust the 5, right? Those are independent variables. Morning, Truce. So these are independent variables. They stand by themselves as is. There's nothing we can do to change or influence that. Now, we can, right, change the enchantment. That's a controlled variable, right? So, for example, my shoulder has stamina on it. But if I want to change that, I can control that variable. It's a controlled variable now because now I can enchant it. So now I can just go in, grab right there. We'll go to the enchantments. We'll go to armor. Go in here, and now I can just grab a magica glyph, right? So I can grab a magica glyph, and now I can change that. So all I have to do is go here, enchant it, and changed, right? Now that adjusts my stats, right? That's controlled, okay? So that isn't independent. It's a controlled variable that I choose to do. Same thing with your attributes. So when I go into my character sheet and I look at my attributes, that's another form of what? A controlled variable. So if I don't have enough health, I can allocate more points into my health or use enchantments to allocate more health into my gear. So that, once again, is also controlled. So those are controlled variables, right? Those are controlled. Gear is independent. It says I'm on. Give me a thumbs up if I'm here. All right, it says I'm back on. Let me check. Let me make sure we're all good here. Don't know what is going on. Hopefully it's not my friggin' shit. So let me take a look. Make sure we're good. trying to connect to YouTube. Let's just hope. Let's hope. Let's hope. All right. Go in here, and now I can just grab a Magica Glyph. All right. So I think I'm still here. I think. All right. So going back over this. So we're independent with like the sets of the gear. Now let's go into the passives, right? So when I go into light armor passives, right, and I go ahead and I look, these are what? Contingent variables. Yep, back. Thanks, Truce. So these are contingent variables, what I like to call contingent, meaning I have to meet certain specifications to reap the benefits of these passives. For example, I increase my magic recovery by 4% for each piece of light armor equipped. So that becomes brief outage, must have been. So it might be my ISP, so I hope. So this is dependent on, you know, those contingents. The contingencies of what I'm doing. So for example, I have 20% Magica recovery, right? So let's say I want to go ahead and I want more Magica recovery at sacrificing my Undaunted 6%, and I'll drop that down to 4% by what? By simply adding another piece of light armor. So now when I go back into my skills, right? And we go back into the light armor, now I'm at 24% recovery. Now this right here, the percentage value is what? It's dependent. This is a dependent variable. This changes based on the parameters of what I opt to do. It's completely dependent on what? The specification. So that's dependent. It's not independent, it's dependent. You know, there's a contingency to reaping more or less. Now, here's the one thing, though. Prodigy is fixed. As long as I'm wearing, what? 5-piece. So there's a contingency, but it's fixed. No matter how much light armor I wear, whether it be 5, 6, or 7, my value of my critical rating will not increase. Same thing with my concentration. My concentration will not go up even if I opt to use 6 or 7 light. As long as I'm wearing 5 and I meet the recommendation, then guess what? That is associated. So this is independent. These are contingent independent variables. Hey, Mystic, I've got you on ESO, and it says you're offline all the time, and you're online for the stream, but it says that you're offline. Well, yeah, I'm not on my Xbox at the moment, Norman. I'm on the PTS. So I'll be on later today, though. Like I pop in and out. He's on the PTS at the moment, right? So yeah, my Xbox is on, but I'm not there. So here's the specifications, right? So once again, there are contingent, controlled, and then contingent independent within our specifications. All right, so that's important. That's kind of an important aspect to keep and remember. But once again, oh, okay, that explains it. Yeah. And so that's another thing. So when we take a look also at, for example, our traits, right, are controlled. We choose which traits we opt to use, but the trait itself becomes what? When we use it. Dependent, right? For example, I'm using a Divines. Divines gives me 7.5 towards what? My Mundus. So it's a dependent percentage of what? My Mundus. What Mundus I choose is how I'm going to reap it. So if I take the Thief, I'm using this as a multiplier. Yeah, I'm on my PC, right. So this is a multiplier towards what? My Mundus. That's what this is. So this is dependent, but how we choose our traits is what? Controlled. So, for example, if I have enough into, let's say, my critical value and I'm at 55 and I want to raise what? Base damage, because the thief doesn't increase my base damage if I'm using the thief, how would I do so? Well, I would change the trait. So that's another thing I would take a look at. So unfortunately, they didn't give me enough crowns to get the thing this time, so I'd actually have to go, but just give me an idea. So if I'm over 55.5 and I want more magicka, whether towards resource pool or damage, I could change the trait of my